name is Rachel McCafferty. Sure, we are a travel podcast, and I have been in travel business for over 15 years. And today we're going to talk about health and travel. And my guest today is Miss Winifred Hickman, who is a registered nurse who's been doing it also for about 15 years. So let's hear her wonderful insights. Winnie, will you please introduce yourself as well?
23 years. 23 years. I've been a pediatric ICU nurse for 23 years. Um, I guess I've traveled around a bit, but mainly my expertise is in pediatrics and general health.
Okay, so that's a big question. How to travel with the children during this holiday season? Because we're now getting ready for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and everybody wants to see the family with the travel with the children, but we want to do it healthy. And children are wonderful with those wonderful runny noses and other gooey stuff with the sticky fingers. But at the same time, we're also traveling like low cost, and the benefits of food and other things are very limited. So give us some insights. What do you suggest?
Wash your hands. Children are fomites, as they say in medical speak, which means they are a wonderful cesspool of germs. And it's partly because they just don't wash their hands. They touch their face. They touch things. My son would climb up the slide at the park when he was 3, and one day I found him licking it all the way up the slide. They're disgusting. Anyway, love them to death. But honestly, you just really, the best thing you can do is wash your hands really well. And then the next best thing is if you're really honestly concerned about being in large public spaces, airports, airplanes, trains, buses, whatever, wear a mask and carry alcohol gel so that when you get off the bus, you clean your hands off really quick and then take your mask off. Anytime you're in a space that is with lots of people and you don't know their health status, masking is a super easy way to avoid that. But the single most important thing that you can do is wash your hands.
Okay, so that's great. Now we know that to be prepared for large crowds is wash your hands and cover your face. But let's say you have some special issues like diabetes or asthma or things that not everybody has, but you need to be taken care of. So how do you prepare for that? Because sometimes you're traveling for 8 hours a day or
Yeah.
so what are the suggestions for medications and other things?
I never be separated from your medication, honestly. If you are, say, diabetic, or you have medications that you absolutely have to take, be they for high blood pressure or can't long-term cancer treatment or asthma or any of those kind of things where you have medication that you must take, um, bring it in your carry-on. Bring it in your carry-on. If you want to be really specific, back when we had a lot more strict airport security and there was some issues about whether or not I personally would be able to take my medication on, I actually got a prescription for my medication over again to carry with me. I have a allergic reaction, so I have an EpiPen. I have asthma, so I have my inhalers. And I just, when things were really tense, I decided that that would be a good way of doing it. But always, always carry your medication in your carry-on luggage. Never be separated from it. Do not let them check it. When you get up to the gate, if they are saying, sorry, there's no more room in the overhead bins, you're going to need to check your luggage. Explain that you have prescription medication with you, and that is something that you need to have with you at all times. They will either offer you a place to store the medication where you have easy access to it, or they will allow you to carry your bag on. That brings us a little bit, the allergic reaction makes me remember if you have allergic reactions to peanuts or any other kind of severe allergic reaction, you can actually pre-board. And because the flight attendants are actually responsible for cleaning the seats, I really recommend that people pre-board. You can go with your non-allergic partner, and you are allowed to pre-board and clean your space off yourself. So
very smart. So you don't get an allergic reaction from just sitting on a peanut. Wow, I didn't even think about that one. That's good to know. That's a great tip.
Yeah. So that, and sometimes they'll give you pushback. It's actually a regulation that you are allowed to do that at that point. The other thing is if you have severe diseases, for example, well, like asthma or allergic reactions, alerting the airline when before you fly, if you're flying. Train, it's not so easy. Trains and buses are, you just kind of have
hop
to
on, hop off type thing. Yeah.
Right. But an airplane, there's no exit plan. You cannot remove yourself from the situation.
Not yet. Not yet. But yeah.
Unless you pack a parachute. In any event, in that case, alerting the airline that you have a severe allergy or asthma can be helpful.
What about a doctor's note to go with it?
You can bring a doctor's note if you would like, if you feel more comfortable. That's also a possibility as well.
Okay. So now that like all these airlines are charging for a bottle of water, charging for a peanut or, pretzel, whatever. So it gets very expensive to go flying if you have to add food for every time you want to nosh something. But some medications actually require you to have food with the medication. Or like diabetes, you have to eat at certain intervals. So how do you manage the food issue on airlines when they don't really want you to bring your food with you because they want to sell it to you?
I have never run into anybody refusing to let me board with my own food. I traveled with a child who had oral aversion and had liquid food, and that is allowed as an exemption. They don't bring your own homemade liquid nutrition. It has to be a bottled commercial thing that they can examine. You need to have a note from the doctor saying that that's possible. But otherwise, I haven't actually had a lot of problems with.
Okay, so you have to remember to tell them again, I need this food for my medication, for my health, and it's with you at all times.
Yeah, well, the tube feedings, for example, which are liquid food, you're allowed to bring on, regardless. It doesn't matter. But regular food, as long as it's not liquid is fine. I always travel with a water bottle myself, and many airports now have filling stations because, quite frankly, I can't afford a $9 bottle of water. So I recommend that. We always go to the grocery store and pack a picnic and bring it with us. And that's just how I have always traveled, because that food
just on top of that, with little children, I always have a backpack, their own personal backpack with their own, besides the coloring and the books or whatnot, but the food to go with it as well. If it's the nurture bars or whatever, but something that allows them, because children are always hungry and they get more cranky as they go along. So feed them, they're happier.
It's also a good distractor for children to have something. When I was traveling with a small child, I had toys that were strictly for travel, so they never came out except for when we were traveling. They were small, little cars and books and various and sundry kind of things that could be used over and over again. But the only time he got to play with them was when we were traveling, and that makes it more interesting.
So that's the thing. So it's very challenging nowadays, because also you pay for your audio videos. They don't always have videos anymore.
Yeah.
So you have food for the kids, toys for the children, wash your hands, mask, and medicine with you at all times. Those are like the strong tips. What happens when you have something like a pacemaker or artificial hip because they beep like at the security card?
When you have them implanted, you should have a card that the doctor gave you at the time of implantation, and you can show it. I traveled with somebody my father who had 2 artificial knees. Nobody actually even asked him for proof. So,
but you should have it with you in case it does come up.
Have a card. You should probably have a card anyway in your wallet in case something happens just randomly. If it's a pacemaker, for example, knees, who cares? But if you have like an implanted port of some kind, so there are pacemakers, there are medication infusion pumps that are implanted now, there are deep brain stimulators, there are all sorts of things that are implanted medical devices, and you should have had a card that came with said device that you're supposed to carry with you. The other thing being that you might want to have a medical alert bracelet or necklace, and they sell some really cute ones on Etsy, or so you can buy nice ones or similar crafty ones. But I highly recommend if you have a pacemaker or an implanted port that you have something to indicate that as well, just in case.
Okay, so yeah, just pretty much common sense and a lot of fun, traveling. Because the point is you want to travel safe and you want to travel healthy, so take your health seriously when you're traveling and take your medication seriously while you're traveling.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's great. Winnie, thank you so much for your help and enlightenment of traveling abroad. This is amazing. Wow, what a wonderful episode. Thank you so much. And if you want to be a part of it and you want to join me, please take the minute below to WhatsApp me, Travel Podcast with Rachel. Wow, thank you so much.